What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. So, word is, Deontay Wilder might be on standby to fight Dillian Whyte. Now, the way this is supposed to work, that would be if Tyson Fury decides to vacate the title. Okay, being that he's saying that Dillian Whyte don't agree to his terms. Being that he's the interim champion, Dillian Whyte is supposed to be awarded the championship. Now, there's people that's going to have mixed emotions about different sides of this fight. Some of it's understandable, and then you're going to also have people with their personal feelings, their bias, and hatred for other people and all that kind of dumb stuff. But at the end of the day, look, that's just the rules. If Dillian Whyte, okay, if Tyson Fury decides, like he's gonna vacate that title, then Dillian Whyte automatically is elevated up. He becomes, the WBC champion. Okay. Same thing that happened with Lennox Lewis. Same thing with Devin Haney. Here's the deal. Now, I honestly think it would be unfair for some reason because it's Dillian Whyte. Like, okay, he has to fight somebody for it, when in the past that wasn't the case with other fighters. Now, if this would be the start of a new thing where no, you have to fight for it now, okay, well that changes everything. And basically it kind of defeats the purpose of being interim champion. Now, I can say this. Dillian Whyte, and I've already said this in the video, that there's nothing wrong if Tyson Fury vacates the title and Dillian accept the title, like, hey, okay, I'm awarded the title because the guy I was supposed to fight pulled out. So be it. The thing for Dillian Whyte at that point is, now that I am champion, I'm going to defend this championship. And I'm going to fight the guys that, I'm going to fight the other top guys. It's not going to be, I'm champion now, let me just take the easy road. Now, here's the reality. A lot of champions get titles, and then all of a sudden they start doing the same things that they was bitching about. And start saying, when this guy did it, nobody did anything about it. So now that I'm doing it, it's a problem. And sometimes, things do happen and people they go off their emotions instead of really thinking about the bigger picture. But let's just be honest about something. Dillian Whyte, in my opinion, if he's awarded this championship, I want to see Dillian Whyte fight somebody like Joe Joyce, Andy Ruiz. I want to see him fight somebody else. I want to see a different challenger for that WBC strap. Personally, look, Deontay put up the best fight that he could against, Fury in the last fight, and they had a slugfest. Okay. But Deontay Wilder lost. Deontay Wilder has fought 3 times against the same guy for that same title. I think it would just be unfair to just take Deontay after. I don't care how much he looked, how much of a good fight he put up against Fury. Just like, okay, so what? Derek Chisora put up a good fight against Joseph Parker. He's a former champion, and Joseph Parker. So you don't just take a guy because he looked good in the fight or did better in the fight than people thought he would, or the last fight, and then you all of a sudden just take him and stick him in the title shot. How do you come off of a loss and end up in a title hunt? We've seen it happen with other fighters, and I didn't understand it then, and I didn't agree with it, and I don't agree with it now. Look, Deontay's a former world champion, former WBC champion. He's fought, like I said, the same guy 3 times already for the same belt. I don't want to see. I'm not interested in a Fury Wilder 4. I wasn't even interested in the last fight. But I bring the boxing news, so if I'm going to talk about something, I have to observe it. But at the end of the day, it's like there's other fighters out there. There's other challengers out there. I don't see how a guy can come off of a loss and all of a sudden he's that guy. And people will say, yeah, but Deontay looked good in that fight and it's going to be a draw because that's the fight people want to see. And I get that fact that Deontay Wilder and Dillian Whyte is a fight that should have happened and didn't. But then let's go back to this too. Dillian Whyte shot himself in the foot when he turned that fight down with AJ. The fight was offered to him and he said they're playing games. And I heard, now what I'm saying, I even heard Frank Warren say that he was offered like $4 million. At the time, I think they said $7 million. But Dillian thought whatever, like, oh, they're playing games, and he turned that shit down. So he did that to himself. And as long as he was waiting and waiting and waiting, lost to Vacates, came back, got his revenge, and waiting, also understand, the same guy that held that WBC belt, which is Deontay Wilder, sent him the text saying, I can freeze you out for 2 years. And it's been longer than 2 years. Think about it, okay? And for him to all of a sudden now get knocked out and then put into a championship match for a belt after a loss, is like, are you serious? I mean, we've seen Daniel Dubois get beat by Joe Joyce. He fought a good fight, and he ends up fighting for, a WBA title or something. It's like, yeah, I mean, why Joe Joyce didn't get that fight instead of Daniel Dubois? I mean, but it's one of those things. I just don't think it's fair in that sense. There are other guys out there. Now, if Dillian Whyte believes in himself and just feel like, man, I just want to knock Deontay Wilder out. I owe him an ass whooping. So be it. But I don't think Dillian should have to fight for it based on the rules of being an interim champion. I just don't think that that's fair. Bottom line, okay? Either way, it's a situation where in boxing you never know what's what. I don't understand why Deontay was just pulled out the hat to be a challenger, for Dillian Whyte. I'd rather see him fight somebody different, someone that, yeah, I would like to see him against Andy Ruiz. I would definitely like to see him against Andy Ruiz, I would like to see him against a Joe Joyce. There's other guys out there, there's lesser known names of fighters out there with guys that can fight. I mean, I forget the guy that just beat F.A. Ajamba. He's up and coming, but that guy is solid. Okay, and he has skills. He's not as recognized as he may become, but that guy is skilled. I forget his name. But anyway, bottom line is, when it comes to challenges and you keep throwing the same people in the mix, it's one thing when there's a rematch clause. You lose, you exercise that rematch clause. But when you just get beat and then all of a sudden you thrown into a title fight based on what? We're rewarding people for losses now? And that's that on that, as far as if that happens. If Fury vacates the title, and I told you guys before, like, I don't know, this fight just seemed like there's no energy toward this fight coming from Fury or Dillian Whyte. I think they'll just let it go to a purse bid and see what happens. And if Tyson Fury, if they give him the type of situation where it's a lowball offer, which it will be. I mean, Frank Warren out of his own mouth said he thinks that, it should be 80-20. Then he said, actually, it should be less than that for Dillian. So, what are we talking about? 90-10? You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't feel like Dillian's worth that. And, there's people who, who you think is going to win or lose, it's not even a fact. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose, okay? But this is a fight that, like I said, I don't think Dillian should have to fight Deontay for that title. If Deontay is a fight that he want, no, I want to knock him out, he accepts his title, and then he goes and fights Deontay, win, lose, or draw, so be it. But like I said, being that the rules is if you're the interim champion and the title's vacated, in that particular sanctioning body, that you are awarded that title. And that's just the way it should be. Like I said, he go out and then defend his title the way he's supposed to. Now, there's also talks, and I don't know. A lot of time people say that these are things that are happening. I'm not sure, but people are talking about Derek Chisora fighting Deontay Wilder. Wilder being that he just came off of a loss, that would be, and the fight that Chisora just put up against Parker, that would be the fight, that would be a good brawl, and that would be the fight that would be able to, have each guy shine, because it'd be a slugfest. Okay, let me put it to you like this, and everybody has their opinion. I'm just going to give you mine. I think Derek Chisora has already taken too much punishment. What Tyson Fury had over Deontay Wilder was height, was weight, and a reach. Derek Chisora doesn't have anything over Deontay Wilder. Derek Chisora only knows how to come forward. He's easy to hit. He's there to be hit. I can see him running into one of them fucking right hands. I think Deontay Wilder knocks Derek Chisora out. Now, Derek Chisora, don't get it twisted. He has the power. If he can, if he can connect right, he got the power. Okay? But one thing Deontay does is he keeps his reach out, where he plays, he just lays back. Derek Chisora is not a technical guy. The way he put punches together and everything, he just basically swings. He just swings shots. Okay? And you can telegraph Derek Chisora's punches. And like I said, he's easy to hit. He doesn't really use head movement too much. Everything that he does, well, he doesn't do it throughout the whole fight, aside from throwing punches. Like, you'll see him try to cover up and move his head a little bit early. He does, but he doesn't. The more he tries to get closer to get fight, to land shots in the fight, he doesn't have the patience. He doesn't have that mindset of being surgical in there. He just wants to go and throw punches. I just see him getting hit with one of those right hands and going to sleep. We know Derek Chisora has heart. We know he has, he has determination. He goes there, he tries to win. He goes in and fight to win. He tries to knock you out. Okay, that's what he does. I just don't see the point in him versus Deontay Wilder. And then two, is Derek Chisora going to come across the pond? Because I doubt very seriously that Deontay Wilder's going anywhere outside the U.S. to fight anybody. So, again, it's a fight that I just don't think is necessary. And people are always talking action, but I think if they do fight, I think Derek Chisora takes another loss. Because Derek Chisora just falls short against every elite fighter. And even though Deontay's not the most skilled guy, look, man, like I said, Derek Chisora is too easy to hit, and he gets hit with clean shots. And the last thing he want to do is get hit by that fucking right hand. And the way he leaps in and has to reach, he doesn't know how to work his way into shots. He has to leap in, he lunges. I just see him getting knocked out. I just think it's an unnecessary knockout, an unnecessary fight. And personally, I mean, for me, like, look, he does what he does. Every fighter, everybody, you got the right to fight until you feel like, okay, it's time to close the show. But at the end of the day, I think Deontay knocks him out, and I just don't see the point in that. And I know what people are thinking. Like I said, they're looking at how Deontay fought back against Fury before he got KO'd, in the same way how, Chisora went in there and put up a good war, a good battle against Joseph Parker. At the same time, I think he goes to sleep. I just see him running into a right hand, or just, moving the wrong way, dropping his hands when he shouldn't, and just getting nailed with a right hand. I just see it. Now, as far as Deontay Wilder, here's what I'm going to say about him. I think it's a good thing for him as long as, you know, his hand heals up and he can, you know, fight healthy, and you know, he's always breaking his damn hand. But he says he's going to continue to fight. I think it's good for him in the sense of this, okay? As a warrior, as a fighter, when you lose a fight, man, and you tuck your tail and decide, okay, I lost the fight, I think it's time for me to retire, then, I mean, it's like, yeah, you're only this warrior when you're winning, but when you lose, you can't handle defeat. That's exactly what it would look like. You know, aside from that, if it's a situation where his body's not holding up, I can understand that. But if it's just the fact that he lost the fight, so he's saying that he's going to still fight, and, you know, we'll see what happens. But again, I still don't see a reason for him to be the first person in line to fight Dillian Whyte. I just don't. And this has nothing to do with liking or disliking the person. I don't know these guys to like them or dislike them. Like I said, there's things that they do that, you know, I don't like, but it doesn't affect me personally. I just feel like fair is fair. You know, and whatever goes on with Dillian Whyte, whatever happens with him and Fury, you know, we'll just have to see. But if Fury ends up fighting the winner of Usyk and AJ after vacating his title, that means he just dropped the belt just to slither his way into another title fight. And I don't think Fury should be awarded. Now, I know people will say, yeah, but he's the best fighter out there in the heavyweights or whatever. Okay, cool, whatever. And people want to see him versus AJ or Usyk, whichever one of those guys win. I get that. But, man, you know, for a guy that just like he can just do what he want, drop a belt when he want, next thing you know, I'm in the next title fight. Oh, I mean, you know, boxing is crazy. It's just gotten to a point now where nothing matters. You can say, this is the rule, this is the regulations, and some fighter will come along that he's bigger than boxing, he's bigger than the rules. No, it shouldn't be that way. If you decide to drop your WBC title and walk away because Dillian is not taking a low ball offer, let's just say it that way, because that's the only reason, only thing I can think of, is that him giving Dillian Whyte a low ball offer, and that would be an excuse to just not fight him for whatever reason. So, anyway, never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.